loved doing this project this year. There was so many fun lessons and different things that I experienced and I learned with my PTP. I'm just excited for the new year to continue this project and see what new palette will be picked for the year 2021. This is my 2020 Pan That Palette finale. I did very good on the finale of my 2020 Pan That Palette. In closing, I hit 2 more pans. So if you want to hear what pans I hit and how well I have done for this project for the year, then just make sure to keep on watching. But before we get into the video, make sure you guys subscribe. I put out new content weekly, so you don't want to miss out on all the fun. Also, make sure to check the down bar for all my other links to all my other social media platforms. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and hop on into the video. My 2020 Pan That palette was my Huda Beauty Mauve Obsessions palette, as most of you know, but if you are new here, I have been working on trying to pan this palette for the entire year, and I basically bought this palette for the sole purpose of being my 2020 Pan That palette. I have done rather well on my Pan That palette this year. I hit 2 more pans in closing for the finale of this Pan That palette, and I'm so excited to sit down and just kind of go over my final progress and how many times in total I have used this palette for the year and what my goals are and plans for the year 2021. There's just something so satisfying about being able to hit pan, especially on any types of focus palettes or products that you are focusing on and intending to get good use on. I can't believe it is officially the end of 2020, if not the beginning of 2021. By the time this video goes up, the year flew by. We had so many hardships in the year 2020. All of us can relate with COVID and everything that had happened and everything that went on for the entire duration of 2020, to just try to find little pleasures in small things. Even something as small as trying to pan a palette brings me so much joy, and I really hope that you guys were able to find something that was productive and positive and helpful for you to get through the year as well. I will have the playlist in the cards to this if you guys are interested in going to watch any of my other videos on my Pan That palette to see the progression of how we got where we are now. About a month in on my Pan That palette, I decided to go ahead and add in an accompany palette, which was my Bad Habit Aurora palette. I just paired the two together to kind of give me a little bit more color variation. This one is more colorful than just using mauve tones all year round, though I never really got tired of using her. It is a really beautiful palette. There's just a couple shades that gave me a little bit of difficulty. We'll definitely go over that when I go over the progress with you guys. Went ahead and added in my Bad Habit Aurora palette. I will have an intro video announcing what my Pan That palette is going to be for the year 2021. But what I am deciding to do is I will be decluttering my Bad Habit Aurora palette. It was one of my more older palettes and most used palettes, which is why I wanted to go ahead and pair this with my newest palette that I bought solely for the purpose of my 2020 PTP. So one of my older ones, most used, with the new not used at all, and I paired the two together. I definitely got a lot of good use out of this, but I will be finally decluttering her, and I will also be doing a declutter eyeshadow palette declutter video coming very soon. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and I will share with you the progress on this palette and the new pans that I had hit. If I open her up, here is what the final progress of this palette looks like for this year. I have decided to go ahead and bump this down as my companion palette for the year 2021. So I'm going to continue working on her for the next year just to really see how long it will take me, or how long it can possibly take me to use a palette from brand new start all the way to finish. And I'm going to try to keep this in some type of project for the years to to follow and try to pan this entire palette entirely. So I've decided to go ahead and keep this in as my companion palette for 2021. I'm really excited to see how well I do and continuing to get good use out of her. So I hit 2 new pans in closing and I'm so excited. And the first pan that I hit was actually the very first shade, this dark brick matte red shade. And I hit the pan officially on 11/13 after 53 uses. So it took me 53 uses to hit the pan. And then the second pan that I hit in this palette was the dark red shade down here, which I'm really surprised. I was very excited to hit that pan because the darker tones and darker mattes are always really more difficult to pan for me. And it took me 55 uses to hit that pan. And I officially hit the pan on 11/27 of 2020. So these are my newest pans for my that palette for 2020. Here is what she looks like. Let's go ahead and quickly go over the final usage on her. Again, starting with the top left shade, which is shade number 1. I have used shade number 1 a total of 52 times. The second shade I have used a total of 40 times, and that is a shimmer. The third shade I have used a total of 63 times. The middle left shade I have used a total of 61 times. The middle brown matte shade I have used a total of 121 times. The middle right shade I have used 66 times. The bottom dark matte I have used a total of 89 times. And the middle light cream shade, as you can see, I've definitely done a pretty good job at expanding that pan. I have used a total of 160 times, and that's a lot of usage. I use that one the most. Obviously, I would use that quite often to set my eye primer or clean up the edges a lot. And then the last bottom left pan I have used a total of 60 times. And again, it took me a total of 55 uses to hit the pan. So in total for the entire year, I have dipped my brush in this palette and used it a total of 713 times, which if you look at it that way in the bigger picture of it, it is pretty amazing the amount of times that I've used this. And then I again dipped my brush into this palette, 713 uses on this palette. It was brand new when I started my 2020 pan that palette, so I think I have done rather well. The only shades that really kind of gave me a little bit of difficulty was this top left hand real light cream sparkling shade. It's just a bit flaky and a little bit underwhelming. It's not as pretty as I hoped it would be, but I managed to make it work, and I did in fact hit the pan on that, as well as the second shade. And this is another shimmer shade, and it was just a bit underwhelming to me. With 40 uses, this is actually the least used pan in here. This is the only one that was left that I didn't hit pan on. Overall results, I'm very happy with the results and the progress on my pan that palette. I'm excited to continue working on this for the year 2021 to get some more progress and see how much more I can potentially get good use on her. So to quickly go over and wrap up in closing my companion palette for the year, I also hit 2 pans, giving me a total of 4 pans in total for this update and the finale on my 2020 Pan That Palette series. So I hit a total of 4 pans, not 2. I keep forgetting to include my companion palette's pans. And I hit on here the shade Radiant officially on November 12th, as well as the shade Soul finally, which these were actually focus shades. For the shade Soul, I hit the pan officially on November 25th. So as you can see right there, there are all of the pans, and I have a total of 9 out of the 14 pans in here I had hit, which is not too bad. 3/4 of the way. I will gladly take it, especially on one of my more older palettes. This is a really beautiful palette. It is a replica palette for the ABH Prism palette. I was glad that I had this in for the project, and got a good year's worth of use out of her. I will be decluttering this from my collection. I just feel it's time to sit down and kind of declutter some of my palettes and some of my older palettes and palettes that I don't really reach for or haven't reached for in quite a long time. This will be one of the palettes that I'm going to go ahead and get rid of and declutter. I definitely feel it is time to let go and get rid of some of these palettes because I have a ton of eyeshadow palettes. But it was a good palette to use. It was a great palette to use in conjunction with my Pan That palette. They paired very beautifully, and I'm really confident in the use that I got out of her. I feel confident and, you know, comfortable in being able to let this go, and I'm excited to bump this down as my companion palette for the year 2021. I am actually wearing this today on my eyes, my Pan That palette, and as you can see, it just makes for real beautiful mauve tone looks. And with it being the holidays right now, these eye colors and these looks are definitely ideal, and they make for really beautiful looks all year round, really. For today's eye look was, I always, of course, set my eye primer with the light cream shade, and then I typically will go in with the neutral brown shade as my transition to really blow that out. And then I went in with this brick red shade and kind of builded that up. And then I went in with the darker red shade to kind of add me a little bit of depth on the outer. And then I brought that all the way in. And then to add even more depth on the outer V, I went ahead and I used this dark matte reddish shade. And then for the lid, I used both the light sparkling shade as well as this real pretty red sparkling shade. And it just makes for a real pretty, simple, yet easy type of look that is wearable and approachable. And then for the lower lash line, again, I use this to kind of tight line close to my eye, and then to blend it out, I used both these two combined. And then I used my Urban Decay Alkaline 24-hour Glide On eyeliner as well. No lashes today, and I just drew a real small baby wing, and I think the look came out really beautiful. I just kind of wanted to be wearing one of the eye looks when I did my finale video so that you guys can actually see it on my eyes. I don't know how many videos I've done with that where I'm actually wearing my Pan That palette. Feeling very confident on the progress that I was able to make on both of these palettes. It was so fun to do a Pan That palette. This is my first year doing one, and I'm excited to go ahead and continue to do a Pan That palette for the year 2021. I will be, of course, filming an intro video to announcing what my Pan That palette is going to be for the year 2021, so you definitely want to stick around and you don't want to miss that video. I'm so excited. I did post on my Instagram and basically had you guys pick which palette it was going to be, and how I did it was whichever post of an eyeshadow palette that got the most likes was the winner, and it was going to be my 2021 Pan That palette. I'm excited to film that and share with you guys what that palette will be. That's basically it, you guys. I hope everybody had a safe and happy holiday. Let's bring in the new year with positive mindsets, and hopefully that this year will be an amazing year for all of us and much better than what 2020 brought, because 2020 was not the greatest year for everybody. But I'm hopeful that 2021 will be the year of change and the year of great things for all of us. Thank you so much for stopping by, and of course, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and comment down below. And until my next video, everybody enjoy the rest of their day. Bye.